everyone. My name is Erin Verghese, and I am a financial planner and associate advisor here at Pure Portfolios. Today, we're going to be answering one of the most commonly asked questions by clients and prospective clients, and that is, how much money do I need in retirement, or do I have enough money to retire? So first, let's talk about the 4% rule. If you follow the Pure Portfolios blog, you might recall the blog post from February titled, Is the 4% Rule Dead? In this post, we discussed how humans like to use mental shortcuts to solve complex problems, and the 4% rule is no different. The 4% rule states that a retiree can safely withdraw 4% of their portfolio each year and not run out of money. This seems like a good rule of thumb. However, this 4% rule was created back when there was high interest rates and high bond yields. So what do retirees do in the age of low interest rates and bond yields? The simplest answer is it depends. There's really no black and white answer, no singular number that we can spit out and say, this is the number that you need to retire. Since the number is going to be different for each individual situation, we have 4 steps that you can follow to see how much you need to retire. Step number 1, think about your lifestyle. One of the largest factors in determining how much you need in order to retire is based on the lifestyle that you want to live and how much money you'll need in order to fund that lifestyle. So here's a few questions to get you started. What are your expenses now? Will your expenses in retirement be higher or lower? How old are you and when will you retire? The age that you retire at will dictate many different factors throughout retirement. How long do you need your money to last you? Is it 20 years or 40 years? Think about Medicare and healthcare expenses. For someone retiring at 55, that's going to look drastically different than someone retiring at 65 or 75. Step number 2, once you've determined your lifestyle and annual expenses, add up all the income sources that you'll receive in retirement that are not tied to financial markets. Do you have a pension or annuity? Will you receive rental property income, or will you work part-time in retirement? Step number 3, subtract all of your expenses and taxes from your income not tied to financial markets. You'll either come up with a negative number or a positive number. If you have a positive number, that means that your income in retirement is not tied to financial markets, and this is a very empowering place to be. If you have a negative number, that's okay. It just means that we have to withdraw from your investable assets each year to fill the gap between your income and expenses. So let's talk about withdrawal rates. You can find your withdrawal rate by dividing the annual amount needed from your investments by your entire portfolio value. If your withdrawal rate is less than your projected total annual return, you're likely in a good place, but we'll want to stress test your plan to find out where the breaking points are. If your withdrawal rate is greater than your projected total annual return, we might need to go back to the drawing board, confirm your income and expenses, and potentially make some adjustments before you retire. As a rule of thumb, the greater the gap between your projected return and your withdrawal rate, the better. Which brings us to step 4, finding your enough. We coach our clients to find their enough to avoid taking outsized risks where the best outcome doesn't change their lifestyle, but the worst outcome can derail their entire plan. To know if you found your enough, run your financial plan with a 0% rate of return. If you can withdraw from your investable assets over your retirement period without running out of money, you know that you found your enough. We'll be diving deeper into the topic of finding your enough on next week's episode of Blind Spots, so make sure you come back for that one. Now let's jump into a real portfolio to see how this all works.
So we have our clients Joe and Jane Smith here, and I've opened up their financial plan and gone into our reports, and right now we are looking at the cash flow report. So just to familiarize yourself with Joe and Jane here first, we want to show you that Joe's retirement is coming in 4 years. He'll be 65 in 2025 when he retires. Jane will also be retiring in 2025 at the age of 60. We have their living expenses listed here below, and these are just their basic expenses. This doesn't include their mortgage, any other liabilities that they currently hold. This is just their very basic living expenses. So because Joe and Jane are going to be working for the next 4 years, you can see their income flows here while they're working. We don't have any income from investments or any plan distributions, so their total inflows currently are just from their salaries. We jump over here to the next line, which is their total expenses. You can see that their total expenses for 2021 are about $95,000, which is more than double what their current living expenses are. And that includes liabilities, any other expenses outside of their basic living expenses. Total money flowing out over the year is that same $95,000, which leaves them with a net cash flow of $63,000. So you can see in this column labeled net cash flow that Joe and Jane are living below their means. They have excess cash at the end of the year, and this continues as they continue working. Now, in this blue highlighted line here in 2025, as we know, that is when they are going to retire. So we can see that their income here stops. They still have expenses though, they still have to live, they still have to pay their mortgage, and so their total outflows is still $81,000. That of course leaves us with a negative net cash flow. So that means that this $80,000 has to come from somewhere. So where does it come from? Their portfolio. In the first 2 years of retirement, Joe and Jane don't have any other sources of income, so they're going to be relying solely on their portfolio income, which you can see that it draws down in those first 2 years. However, when Joe turns 67, he is at the full retirement age and he will start taking Social Security, as you can see here. This helps supplement their income so they don't have as much that they need to draw down from their portfolio. And this continues all the way up until 2032 when Joe turns 72, which he is of the required minimum distribution age, and Jane turns 67 when she starts taking Social Security. Now you can see when they look at the net cash flows that they are actually cash flow positive and they no longer have to withdraw from their portfolio. So after the year 2032, as their cash flows increase, so does their portfolio. So over the years, as time goes on, as the portfolio increases, so does the RMD. Expenses will fluctuate on the back end depending on the individual and things that they have calculated in here. But seeing as the portfolio is growing over time, that is definitely a positive for Joe and Jane. So we get this lovely message on the top that says, based on the levels of income and spending in the base facts that we have entered, your portfolio assets will last at least through 2055 or age 95 and 90. And these are the ages that we have put in for Joe and Jane as their end of plan or time when they pass. Now that we know that Joe and Jane will not run out of money in retirement or through the end of their plan, we can go in and stress test the portfolio to see exactly where the breaking points of their plan is. We'll run 0% returns. Maybe Joe and Jane want to buy a vacation home. Maybe they want to add to their travel budget. Maybe they want to start putting away funds for their grandchildren. The possibilities are absolutely endless, but making sure that your basic needs are met are of utmost importance.
So to wrap things up and answer your question of how much do I need to retire? First, identify the retirement lifestyle that you want to live. Second, calculate the income that you'll receive in retirement that are not tied to financial markets. Third, subtract your expenses and don't forget about taxes. Fourth, once you know the gap that you need to fill between your expenses and income, calculate your withdrawal rate. If you can withdraw this amount from your portfolio during retirement without running out of money, you know that you've found your enough and you're ready to retire. Don't forget to like this video if you've learned something today. Leave a comment down below if you have any financial planning questions that you'd like us to answer in future videos, and subscribe so you don't miss out. We'll see you next time.